I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
It's been a few days since the results of the presidential election. Now, I'm an ocean conservationist. I'm a marine biologist. I live in Canada, but the U.S. politics definitely has an influence on me, on conservation, on oceans. I have a podcast called How to Protect the Ocean podcast. A lot of my audience members, the main audience, is in the U.S. And I have a lot of friends in the US. And there are a lot of people that are shocked, are surprised, are disappointed, are sad, or angry. There's a lot of emotions going on because of the results. Trump wins the presidency. What does that mean for a lot of things? You know, putting the ocean aside, what does that mean for, women's rights, healthcare, immigration? There's a lot of things that are going to be going on. One aspect is the focus or lack of focus or defunding of climate change projects, government climate change policies, as well as any kind of ocean protection. Oil and gas is going to be a priority, as Trump has mentioned, and that is a problem for us. And so as a science communicator and as an ocean conservationist and marine biologist, I have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do as a community here on this YouTube channel that that want to protect the ocean. That want to make sure that we see a nice ocean. And so I'm starting this type of video, a vlog, because as you know, if you're a fan of the channel or you've been on my podcast for a while, you've seen that I do the How to Protect the Ocean podcast, the video podcast as well, and I have Ocean Talk as well. And this last election really made me want to speak to my fellow ocean science communicators, my fellow science communicators in general, just anybody who wants to protect the planet, heal the planet. We have a lot of work to do. That's really what it comes down to. Over the next 4 years, this is going to be an issue where we're going to see a lot of problems with the government in the way they handle the environment. There's a lot of acts that help the ocean, that help the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Magnuson-Stevenson's Act, which is like a fisheries act, the Species at Risk Act, Marine Mammal Protection Act. There's a lot of different acts that affect the ocean and the environment, excuse me, in general, and those are going to be affected in some sort of way. There's a big influence on oil and gas development with Trump, and so a lot of that happens in the ocean. So we're going to see what happens, but in that time, I want to help those of you who want to do something about it. And many of you are scientists or environmentalists, and you want to start talking about it, and you have potentially a platform, or you want to build a platform online that will get information out. Because what people need is what I've figured out. I've been doing the science communication online for quite some time. I've started a blog in 2010. Went into doing YouTube for a little bit, got out of YouTube for a little bit, went to podcasting, been doing that for the past 10 years. Launched a show in 2015 called Speak Up for Blue, and it's now How to Protect the Ocean. And I've learned a few things on the way, and I want to share that with people. I've been doing it a lot by myself. I've had a lot of help in terms of bringing podcast guests on and advice from various people, and I want to share the advice that I've been given, the advice that I'd like to give based on my personal experiences, just to get help out to people who want to start whether it be a podcast, a YouTube channel, a TikTok account, or whatever that might be, an Instagram account, where you can put out information, because people are going to need information. People are going to need to know about the ocean. They're going to need to know about the environment. They're going to need to know how they can protect it, who they can partner with, who they can support, and they need to know that. And I think I want to help you do that if that's possible. The one thing that really I was happy about after the results was to know that I had a platform where I could speak to people, where I could speak to an audience that I've been able to build, and a community that I've been able to build over the last 10 years, even really 14 years, and be able to help put things together. Now, it's never been perfect. Like even this video, there's a lot of shadow over my eyes. It looks like I'm a, Zorro or something. But like you do what you've got to do, and you talk to people the way you need to talk to people. And that's what I really want to focus on this first vlog, is how we talk to people as scientists, as conservationists. The one thing that we definitely learned in this election is how politicians were talking to people, and how people felt, the way certain politicians were talking to people. They either liked it or they didn't, or they connected with it or they didn't. I'll talk about that in a second. But the way scientists speak to people through this, these platforms online is a big deal, and it matters. And my first tip would be to just be authentic. Just be you. Don't try to be the scientist. Don't try to just spit facts. Bring your own personality into it. It really helps. It helps a lot. One of the big things that people have always complimented me on, which I never knew that I did on purpose, is like, Andrew, you just speak like you normally speak. You're not tight. You just kind of like, you just say what you want to say in the way that people can understand. How do you do that? And I'm just like, I speak to the people the way I speak to my friends, the way I speak to my family. It's laid back. I'm a laid back type of person, and I bring my own personality into what I do, because that's part of me, right? It's authentic. And so that'd be my first tip, was to just be authentic. It's really going to help connect with people. It's really going to help take out that idea that scientists they feel like they're bigger than everybody else and better than everybody else, which for some reason that's happened, and that we just are just like everybody else. We just have a passion to protect the environment. And so I want you, if you're thinking about doing this or you're just starting out, to just loosen up a little bit and speak to people like you want to be spoken to, or like you would speak to your friends, or like you would speak to your family. It's really what it comes down to. If you look at a lot of the successful podcasters, even comedians and stuff, they all have their own personality. They all have their own way of doing things. And everybody's different. And that's what's beauty about podcasting. That's the beauty about being on video and having a YouTube channel and being some type of content creator. You can always be different. So we're going to talk more about that, and sort of what to do and what not to do, and what works and what doesn't, even if you don't think it's suitable. We're going to talk about that in the next little part of this vlog. But right now, I actually have to this is morning, I actually have to get to fix this car. I have a Tesla, and the back windshield's cracked. You can't see it right now, but it is cracked and it needs to be fixed. So I'm going to go get that fixed and hopefully work from the auto place, and we will talk to you soon. So I'm here at an office. As you can see, this isn't my regular office. This is an office where I am here because my car back windshield had a chip in it, and that chip continued to be a crack, and it cracked all the way up the back of my windshield. So I'm here getting the back windshield replaced. Luckily, my insurance covers the whole thing, because it costs like $2,000 to repair. The one thing about having a Tesla is that it's expensive to prepare. But luckily, my insurance covers it, so I'm pretty happy. But I want to continue my thought that I had earlier in terms of how people view you when you are doing a video or when you're doing a podcast, whether it be audio, how they hear you. The one thing that we can learn from this recent election in the US, the presidential election, as well as the upcoming Canadian election, for all my Canadian audience here, is that people don't want to be spoken down to by anybody, whether it be a politician, whether it be a scientist, whether it be a conservationist. They want to be spoken to as their equal. They want you to kind of connect with them. And that's why we do podcasting. That's why I love podcasting, is people connect with that person. They connect with the person who's speaking. They become loyal to that person. If you think about it, one of the biggest criticisms that I've witnessed in terms of what people are saying about what happened in terms of the candidates in the presidential election is that they felt that the Democrats were speaking down to them all the time. They felt that the Democrats thought they were better than the people who their voter base, or maybe going outside their voter base. So it's really difficult to connect with somebody when you think the person who is running or the person who is speaking to you is actually trying to speak down to you and doesn't really value you. If you don't feel that, it doesn't matter what the intention of that person is. If you don't feel that, then you're not gonna want to listen to that person again. And I feel like from some of the feedback that I've seen online of what people are saying is the Democrats always feel like they've got this elitist sort of feeling. And I feel like a lot of people think scientists have this elitist type feeling as well, but they don't know a lot of scientists. Usually when we hear scientists being referred to in the media, it's scientists, 97% of scientists believe climate change is real, or they've provided evidence that climate change is real. And they never actually get to hear or see the person who is saying it, the scientists themselves. You know, one thing that's really interesting, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a really big figure in science, but also in science communication, every time he speaks, everybody connects with him like, oh, that makes sense, because he can take what he has, all the knowledge that he has on astrophysics, and he can bring it down to people's level where we understand. Like, even I don't understand most of astrophysics, but when I listen to him, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. He has some humor into it, and he adds his own personality, and that's what makes it so good to listen to him. That's why he's such a big figure within the science communication community, and just in general why he's so popular. So when you think about communicating, you want to be able to come down, not necessarily come down, but speak to the level that they can understand in terms of the science, but also just speak to them like you would speak to anybody. I'm speaking to you how I would speak to my wife, my friends, my kids. You know, I get along. I try and inject my own personality, whether that's my own humor, whether it's funny or not. My kids don't think I'm that funny. A lot of dad jokes get told. But it's just, it's you. Who do you want to be? Who do you think that you want to portray? And if you want to portray what you portray around your friends, around people you talk to each and every day, that's what you do. You don't speak to them like, I have all this knowledge, you don't have this, here it is. People will kind of feel as though you're speaking down to them, just like they felt in the presidential election. Then you'll lose them. Then they'll go on the defensive. Then they'll try to attack whether it makes sense or not. The one thing that was the feedback from Trump supporters, and I know it's Trump supporters, it's MAGA supporters, it's a different type of supporter, but they loved how he connected with them, even though he doesn't connect with them, but they feel as though he connects with them because he speaks like they do. He tells jokes like they do, as some of them are so abhorrent, it's unbelievable, but he connected with them, and all of them say, I feel as though I could have a beer with him. I feel as though I could speak to him he's speaking with me like he's a friend of mine. And that was a lot of the feedback that seemed to be the difference in terms of the charisma of each candidate and the difference. So I'm not saying go out and be like Trump. By all means, please be the opposite in that way, but connect with your audience, right? And I think coming up over, like I said before, coming up over the next number of years, the next 4 years, hopefully only 4, we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we have to communicate with people. We are communicating with people because we need to inspire people to stand up for the environment, stand up for the climate. If we don't stand up for the climate, we don't inspire to stand up for the climate, it's going to be a lot harder to do it, because we're not, the U.S. is not going to have its government on side for pro-environment protections and pro-conservation in certain avenues. I'm not saying in everything, but when we talk about climate change, when we talk about moving away from fossil fuels, it seems like that's going to be a harder battle than we anticipated. Even with Biden, he still approved oil and gas projects for the next 50 years for drilling for the next 50 years. So if everything is going with what Trump said he wants to do, he wants that liquid gold, and he wants to start to develop as much as possible. Whether that's is possible or not, I don't know. I don't know the economy side of it, but from a conservation standpoint, that's some scary stuff. And we need to inspire people to stand up to the government, to be able to effectively put in protests, calls to action, memos and things like that, to speak to representatives to say, hey, we need to mind the climate as well. So that's going to be a really important aspect. So it's time to get to work, and with that, it's time for me to get to work too. So let's start getting to work. Every afternoon when I'm finished working, I come out here. I get to work from home, which is pretty nice. And every afternoon when I finish working, my dogs come at just around the same time. And they come in, they kind of give me a nudge, and they want me to pet them, and they kind of annoy me until it's like, hey, you know what, Dad, it's time to get outside and get into the backyard. So they love to come out here. They love to play, run around, wrestle, that kind of stuff. Gets me outside. I am not one that will go outside I'll forget, really, is what it comes down to. But I love being outside. They make me go outside. I love going for walks with them 2-3 times a day. It's a lot of fun. So it's a lot of fun. So Nacho is the white dog. Lexi is the black dog. Nacho's about 6 years old, almost 7 years old, and Lexi's about 3 years old, just over 3 years old. They make my life a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. Of course, the family makes life interesting as well. So I've got 2 daughters, obviously a wife, and 2 teenage daughters. One wants to be a wildlife biologist. The other one wants to be a teacher so far. So it should be a lot of fun to spend time with them. So it's a little chilly now. It's fall here in Ontario where I live, and it's a lot of fun. You get to see the leaves changing in the background. You can kind of see that. But it really gets me thinking, getting out here, reminding me about nature, reminding me about, the fun it is to be outside, and how important it is, and how important it is to talk about it. Normally I talk in my office through my podcast, but getting out here doing this vlog is a lot of fun as well. So to be able to communicate this information, when we talk to people, talking to them at the same level as you would talking to your friends, as you would talking to your family, as you would maybe even talking to your dogs. I don't know, however you want, talking to your kids. It's so imperative to have that laid back attitude, or the attitude that you bring, your personality. For me, it's being laid back. For me, it's just chilling out, enjoying what I like to talk about, getting excited, being passionate. That gets people excited. One of the things that I wanted to do when I started my podcast was to introduce people to the people that I knew within the field of marine biology and marine conservation, ocean conservation. And so I got to bring on people that were my colleagues, my friends that I met at conferences. And when I met them at conferences, it was really fun because we got to hang out. We got to talk and trade stories. And that's what really got me interested in in going to conferences is hearing people's stories about whether they're in the field or whether they're talking on a workshop or whether they held a meeting to get people, to get people's input on a marine protected area or marine sanctuary. It is a lot of fun to be able to hear those stories and hear about the optimism surrounding those projects that they're working on. So the goal of what I wanted to do is to bring what I was getting at the conferences and through conversations I was having with my colleagues and friends, and bringing them on the podcast to introduce them, because I like them. They were interesting to me, so I wanted them to be, I wanted that interest to portray over the sound waves of a podcast, and to be able to say, hey, look at the people that I know and look at the projects that they're working on. Look at how much fun it is to be able to hear those stories. And people resonated with that. I've got a good audience, that has been with me since the beginning, some just a couple of months ago. It keeps growing, it keeps changing. But it's a lot of fun. I'm 1,600 episodes in, just almost at 1,700 episodes, and I continue to do so. So hopefully, this can portray into science communication through the vlog that I'm doing now, or through Ocean Talk, or through a lot of other things that I do, through the podcast, and to be able to say, hey, we need to work at this. There's a lot of things that we're going to need to do over the next 4 years, especially, and even beyond the 4 years, and to look at the long term of what we're going to do with nature, the policies that go into play, everything that goes in. So I'm just distracted because they keep chasing each other. But that's what we need to do that. We need to be able to portray that. We need to be able to get people excited about protecting the environment, about protecting the ocean. And that comes with you and I doing science communication. Whether you're a scientist, whether you're an enthusiast, whether you have conservation work or wildlife management or any kind of management experience, or you work for a nonprofit organization, everybody needs to speak up now more than ever. So yes, the big breath at the beginning of this episode, it's a breath now. Take in that breath. Feel the feels that you have now. There's a lot to worry about over the next 4 years. There's a lot to worry about over the next 10 years with the environment. And obviously, there's other things that come before and along with that. And we need to look at all of it. So feel the feels that you have now, but get ready to fight. Get ready to communicate. Get ready to get people excited and to direct people. Be a resource to direct people to help them help the environment. And so that's just the message for today's vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Love to hear your feedback. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you like this episode, you can, ring that notification bell, subscribe so that you don't miss any other episodes. You can see me on How to Protect the Ocean. You can see me on Ocean Talk, which I'm going to be going live shortly, start going live every afternoon. It's going to be a lot of fun, bringing more and more information to you and to the people that need the resource of what they can do to protect the ocean. So if you want to reach out, you can do so. Go to Instagram at How to Protect the Ocean. You can always find me there if you're looking for help with science communication. But until next time, thank you very much. Have a great day and happy conservation.